Jeremy Miner. He's a founder 7 level.
Everybody had always told me, you should start your own sales training company one day.
Sales a volume game, sales a numbers game. It was all about numbers, volume, like do more.
I would work 12 hours and make 0 sales. So that means I made $0. I could have made more money at McDonald's. You will fail if you don't learn the right skills to succeed. It doesn't matter what you do, everyone is in sales.
That's probably the biggest reason why I'm not successful by any.
You were successful, dude. For your age, bro, how many 20-year-olds are making multiple 6 figures a year? You gotta start viewing selling as a skills game, because if you don't, and you just think it's a numbers game, you just will.
Welcome back to the channel. Today, I got a really, like an extremely special guest. Extremely exclusive. His name is Jeremy Miner. He's a founder 7 level, probably one of the greatest, might be the greatest sales trainer, salesperson, to me at least. I learned everything I know about sales from Jeremy, so I might be biased, who knows. But yeah, so Jeremy, he got like 17 years in selling himself, did like over $30 million in commission, right? And you know,
supposedly,
yeah, supposedly, in theory. And started a sales training company, 7 level, and now you guys are completely crushing it. I know you just got the 50 mil or something award yesterday.
Yeah, we're almost at 75. I think we're like 72, 73. So we'll win the 75 in a couple weeks. But on stage, we were presented the 50, and probably everything goes smoothly and well, and we keep being humble and getting better as an organization. I think the next year we'll be up over the 100, but we shall see. But thanks for having me on your show, man. What would you like to talk about, my friend?
Before anything, make sure to actually listen to Jeremy. Like, he's actually insanely good at sales. Like, just a really smart guy. And
my kids say I'm pretty boring, but thanks for the compliment, dude.
So yeah, man, Jeremy, you can take the show and just give an introduction about yourself. And
well, first of all, the podcast is being sponsored by Seattle's Best Coffee here today. Apparently, Seattle's Best Coffee
in San Pellegrino.
Yes, the sponsors of Tony's show, but we're joking. Nobody sue Tony. We're thirsty, so we had to grab something here. But we're at an event today. Wanted to do this podcast, and we wanted to, Tony does all of our YouTube stuff now. Tony's company, his agency does YouTube, and we've never really done anything on YouTube. We're a younger company, about 3.5 years in. We've done pretty well. You
guys grew really fast, huh?
Really well on Instagram. We kind of own that market, and Facebook, we kind of own those markets for sales training. But we didn't have much in YouTube, so we wanted to bring in like a really good company for YouTube, and now you guys are here. So you guys are blowing up our YouTube. I think you've grown it by 15,000 just in a month.
Yeah, it's crushing.
So I think we'll be over 100,000 subscribers in a few months, and then year and a half, be well over 1 million. I think what you wanted to talk to me about is, if you're a person and you're maybe looking to get into sales, right? Maybe
you can give people like your story on how, because I know you got into sales really young.
I did, about your age, right? So I was 21 and I was going to college. My major is behavioral science and human psychology, study the brain, how the brain makes decisions. And I had to get a job. I had recently gotten married and had a baby on the way at a really young age. Like, you're talking 21, I was about to turn 22, but I was still in college, right? I think it was like my junior year going into senior year. And now I'm married, I have a kid on the way. I'm like, I need to make money. I can't be the broke college student anymore, right? I played baseball in college, but I had to leave that at that point. And so, crazy story. I'm sitting here in this little, I had like a basement apartment. It's almost embarrassing to say, it's like a basement apartment. My wife at the time, we're divorced, good friends though, and my daughter was on the way in this like 1-bedroom basement apartment, okay? And I'm like, how am I gonna pay for this? What am I gonna do? And my old roommate said, hey, you should come to this recruiting meeting tonight. They're giving out free pizza. And you have this job, and he legitimately said you can give away alarms door to door, and you can make enough money in the summer where you don't have to work while you're going to school. That's literally what he said, give away the alarms. I'm like, how do you make money giving away alarms? But I went to this recruiting meeting because there was pizza involved, and I was a broke college student. So there was probably like 80 to 100 people there. And they got up there and, you know, went over like, oh, you can make all this money and you guys are going to be rich. You can work 3.5 months in the summer and you can make, you know, 40 or 50 grand in the summer and then just, you know, go to school and concentrate on your grades. It's like, this is a really good idea. Like if I go out and sell, you know, from, you know, June, July, August, a little bit of May, I can make enough money, don't have to work while I'm going to college my senior year. I can focus on my grades. So they hire everybody that wants to join because it's straight commission.
There's no qualifications.
It's straight commissions, no qualifications, like door to door. You want to do it, you're hired. So like out of the 80 people there, probably 75 signed up, right? And so I mean, literally like 2 months later, they ship you out to like different cities across the United States. And they probably, you know,
Which city did you get shipped out to?
I got shipped out to Boise, Idaho, of all places. I was going to school close to Salt Lake City, Utah, just a little bit south. And so I got shipped up to Boise, Idaho. There was like 15 of us. And started knocking on doors. And I still remember the manager, because they give you like a script, a couple books by the sales gurus. They drive you out in a van and basically like kick you out of the van. You're all nervous, like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know. They kick you out of the van and they're basically like, hey, go make some sales. It'll be easy. We'll pick you up after dark. You guys are gonna crush it. And I remember I was the last one being dropped off. And I still remember, like it's just like in my subconscious, I still remember looking back at my manager when he dropped me off. His name was Xane, and he had this crazy like surfer blonde hair, the curly blonde hair. And he's like, dude, remember, be excited, bro. You're gonna be awesome. Like show them how much you believe in the product, show them your enthusiasm, and they're gonna believe in it and you're gonna do awesome, man. He's like, cool, dude. You know, like the surfer guy. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, if I show them I believe in it and I'm really excited about it, then somehow magically they're going to be excited about it. I mean, what did I know? I was 21. So I started knocking on doors and I was really excited. I was talking about the features and benefits and how we had the best this and we were the number ranked company this and it was going to do all this great stuff for them. And I noticed from the very first door, I was getting all of these objections.
Yeah.
We don't need it. We can't afford it. Your price is too high. We already talked with somebody from your company. We got a dog. I need to talk to my spouse. I need to think it over. I need to do more research. Can you call me back a week, a month, a year later, right? If you're watching us right now, you know, raise your hand where you're at if you ever lost sales to those type of objections, right? So I was like shocked, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not going to be easy like they said. And I remember about 7-8 weeks in of like that nonstop rejection, barely making any sales.
That was probably rough, huh? Because you were like, cause I know door knocking alone was rough, and door knocking.
I mean, there was most days I would work 12 hours and make 0 sales. So that means I made $0. I could have made more money at McDonald's, okay, legitly. And so after about 7-8 weeks in, I'm sitting there. I remember it was on like a Friday or Saturday night. I was waiting to get picked up, and I'd made 0 sales for the week, like 0 sales. I worked like 60 hours. I had made no money. And here I am, newly married, kid that was actually already there. Cammie, I don't know if you've met my daughter, Cammie. She's 22 now, going to school. And I was thinking like, I felt like a failure, you know, like as a man, because I needed to provide. And I felt like, you know, maybe selling just wasn't for me. And I remember when my manager picked me up that night, he popped in like a Tony Robbins CD that changed everything for me about how I viewed sales. And I know, you know, 22 years ago, people used to listen to these things called CDs. They're like round things. I don't know if you guys.
I'm not that old, German. Yeah, they are CDs.
So you're like 2 when you saw the CDs. Okay, so anyway, you remember them from your 3rd birthday. And so anyway, so he pops in the CD, and Tony said, and I could be butchering it, but he said, you will fail, something like that. Like, you will fail if you don't learn the right skills to succeed. Like, you will fail if you don't learn the right skills to succeed. And when I heard that, it was like something went off in my brain. It was like a light bulb moment, you know, like it was like the sales gods looking down on me, that maybe what the company was training me and what I was learning from the sales gurus, maybe they just weren't the right skills anymore. Maybe they were just outdated. They didn't work as well. I never thought that there was differences in skill level. Some skills work way better than other skills, right? And so at the same time I'm doing this, I had this major dilemma because I was using the traditional selling skills, and I would notice sometimes when I use certain things it would work and I'd make a sale. But then I noticed a lot of the times when I would say certain things or ask certain questions the way they would teach it, it was like I noticed like their guard would come up, like they would be more surface with me, like they wouldn't open up. They would throw up more objections. It was like all the sales resistance I was always competing with. And I'm just like, this sucks. It's just, sales sucks. Now at the same time I'm going to school, right? Talked about my major is behavioral science and human psychology. Study the brain, how do you make decisions? So I'm like taking these classes, and my behavioral science professors, they're saying the most effective way, the most persuasive way to communicate is here. Yeah. But the sales gurus and their programs and books, they were saying it was here. It's like, you're talking like exact opposite. It couldn't be exact opposite. So I was like, had this dilemma in my mind. And so I'm like, how do I start to take what I'm learning about the way the brain works and bring that into a sales process, like with the right questions, with the right tonality, the right words. And that's what I started to do. I started like slowly, day by day, started learning how to get my prospects to do all the work. Whereas the gurus are saying, you got to do all the work. For sure. I was learning how to get my prospects to sell themselves. Whereas the gurus were saying, you need to sell them. I was learning how to get my prospects to overcome their own objections. Whereas the gurus were saying, you had to throw out rebuttals. Yeah. And then I was learning how to get them to pull me in rather than push and pressure. And when I started learning that, everything changed. I went from like literally last in the company to first in the company within like 2 months. Within a year, I was the number one salesperson in the entire industry.
For the
you're talking tens
alarm?
of thousands of people in the industry at that time. Selling alarms at that time, okay? And that's kind of where I got my start, and then I got into B2B sales after that, started making multiple 7 figures a year in commissions, got into some other industries, did that, and then 2017 retired after the 17-year career, and then about a year and a half later started 7th level, and here we are. Yeah. There you go. Long story short.
Yeah, it's a great story. So pretty much essentially you got into sales so you will pressure them to have to make money. Yeah.
Had no choice. There was no plan B.
Back against the wall.
There was only plan A.
Yeah.
There was no plan B.
But that's a good thing though. You think sometimes it's a good thing. But
I had to succeed.
Yeah, so and then you learn sales from the gurus in the past. You were like, this shit doesn't work.
It's not that it doesn't work, it just doesn't work that well. Like you have to play the numbers game. Like you got to talk to so many people to make sales. And I'm like, man, that really sucks. I'd rather talk to a lot less people
and make more money
and just make more sales from the people I'm talking to. Why do I need to talk to 100 to make 2 sales when I could talk to maybe 10 to make 7 sales?
Well, because then like even for me, when I'm still relatively new. I'm like 1 year into like entrepreneurship, so I'm not nothing like you've been like.
It takes a while.
It takes time, right?
Yeah.
Me, even when I first got in, like all the YouTube video, all the TikTok, and everything was like. Sales a volume game, sales a numbers game, right? It was all about numbers, volume, like do more. Like if you pitch 10 people, you will land 1. I'm like, okay, let's go out and pitch 10 people.
You can do that, right? Like if you love like just pounding your head into the wall, and like sales is a numbers game, you got to work harder. I mean, I want everybody to think about this because it always bothered me when I heard sales trainers say that, because I'm like, I'd go to their events and they would just talk about setting goals and you got to get motivated and you got to work hard. I'm like, I already know that. I just want to know what to say and I know what to ask where my prospects will actually buy. Like I know they have problems, my solution can solve it. Like what do I ask? Like how do I use my tone? Like how do I use, like nobody, it's like a few people teach a little bit of that, but not much. And so in my ball game, we don't view selling as a numbers game. We view it more as a skills game. So we're focused on the quality of each conversation and getting way better with each prospect we're talking to, because after all, pretty much every prospect we talk to has problems. Our solution solves those, so what's the missing link? The missing link is you, the salesperson, just haven't acquired the right skills yet, right?
Be able to like bring that problem out.
Exactly. So I mean, it's the equivalent of like, let's say, Steph Curry, you NBA fans, Steph Curry, if he said basketball was a numbers game, just shoot as many threes as you can, just shoot 100, you'll hit 2 or 3, it's no problem. The dude wouldn't be making any money. He'd be out of the NBA.
No money, yeah.
He would have never made his varsity basketball team. See, Steph knows that basketball is a skills game. He's focused on his technique every day. He's focused on getting open. He's focused on his shooting motions and his wrist action and his hips and where he moves his body. And he practices that every day to get better. And that's why he's the best. That's why he gets paid millions of dollars. So if you're a salesperson, you got to start viewing selling as a skills game. Because if you don't, and you just think it's a numbers game, you just will go through the motions. You just call tons of people, you just try to go through the motions just to make a few deals because that's your mindset. The salespeople we train in every industry, they don't view selling that way.
And I think like eventually, if you have the skills and you put in the numbers, that's when you start making like serious money.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm not saying you're going to work 2 hours a day. You're still going to work hard, but if you're already going to work 8-9 hours a day, why not make 5 times more than what you are? I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you're already going to work the hours, why not make 3, 4, 5 times what you are? I don't care what your industry is. So I learned very early on that if I acquired the right skills, I could make way more money than anybody else. And that's what always said to myself. I'm like, how do I knew that if I sold like everybody else, if I just did the status quo, that I would never make the money I wanted to make. I knew that I had to acquire a much higher level of sales ability than everyone else did to make that type of money. And that's when I went out and started really, developing what we now know as NEPQ, Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions. That's how it all started.
For context, by the way, like Jeremy, like at your peak, you were doing like 200K a month in commission, like month by month, every single month. And most of you guys' businesses probably don't even do 200K a month. And then Jeremy's pulling in,
W2 rep.
yeah, like commission, which is
My best year, I made about 2.9 million in commissions, but I pretty much, like the last 9 years or something, 10 years, I averaged well over $2 million a year in commissions, 2.3, 2.5, but my best year was 2.9. Had I stayed in some of those industries, I'd be making more than that now, but that was just working for the company. I didn't own the company.
Was there a reason why you picked sales at that age? I know you had to make money, right? And there's like so many ways to make money, but then like why you choose
That's all I knew, man. I mean, you're talking like that was the summer of 2000 or 2001. Like, where was the internet in 2000, 2001? Was there even social media in 2000, 2001? There was no coaches doing coaches, so you could be like a big star on TikTok or YouTube. Like, none of that existed. So it was just like knocking on the doors. And what I always say about sales trainers, and I love, sales trainers are great, right? I always love people that put out content, even though I might have different thoughts on content just from my behavioral science background. I appreciate them doing that, but when a sales trainer says sales is a numbers game, you got to work harder, you got to hustle, those things, I agree that you need to work hard, but I know a lot of hardworking broke salespeople. Like, they've worked their butts off, but they just don't have the right skill level, right? So you want the skill level and you put in some hard work, you're like unbeatable. And because I always say, like, hey, if you're a sales trainer, just like, you're gonna work harder, sales is a number game. That's basically them saying, hey, what I'm training you doesn't really work that well, so you're just gonna have to work harder. And I'm like, how does that give me any competitive advantage over anybody else? What you're saying is
anyone can work.
What you're training doesn't really work that well, so you just gotta work harder. I'm like, what? That's very nice of you to want me to work harder because you don't. Like, doesn't make any sense.
And the thing is, because then most people get into sales so young, and all young guys have like this hustle mentality, like this fucking pump out the numbers, hit the dial, hit the phone, hit the doors. But then it's like, to me, I think like people like works hard not to. Why not just do both? Like, work hard and smart.
I mean, if
that's how you like make crazy money.
you want to work smart. You want to work smart and hard, right? Like, when I was in sales making $2.5, $3 million a year in commissions, it's not like I worked 3 hours a day. It wasn't like the 4-hour work week. I mean, I love that book, but it wasn't like I was, 4-hour work week. I'm just chilling and press a button, I make all the easy money. I was still putting in 40 hours a week, sometimes 45, some weeks, sometimes even 50.
I mean, 40 hours a week to make that type of income.
But I wanted to do that. I wanted to do that. Now, also, when I started getting up to about even probably like my 4th, 5th year in sales, once I was up to like $600,000-700,000 a year in commissions, I was already hiring like an assistant, like a VA, an assistant to help do the administrative stuff. So that took a lot of my time off my plate, right? Because once you start making more money, you want to, if you're a young rep or older, whatever, whoever's following Tony, you want to be focused on income producing activities. And if you're sitting there an hour and a half a day filling out your stuff in the CRM, or like emailing all these people another hour, that just took 2 hours of your 8-hour day away from like income producing activities, right? So I hired an assistant that would do all that stuff for me, and so I had the full 8 or 9 hours a day to focus on income producing activities, which would make me way more money than what I was paying an assistant, for sure. but it takes a while to get up there. I wouldn't get. You can get like a VA, right?
Which is cheap, it's like $34 an hour.
Yeah, I mean a really good one, $6-7 an hour. I would definitely get a better one, $6-7 an hour. So once you even get up to 20 grand a month in commissions, you should hire a VA to help you do all that small stuff, so you have more time to sell. That's the biggest thing I see salespeople make a mistake in, is they come into the office, they get there at 8, they check their emails for 30 minutes, then they go to the bathroom, then they come back to the break room to drink their coffee, and they're not on the phone till like 9:15. They just wasted an hour and 15 minutes of prospecting or leads they could have called. Then they're calling for maybe 2 hours till 11. Then they get on social media for 30 minutes looking at their aunts posting their cats, or they're on YouTube watching funny shows and texting their friends. Then they go to an hour and 15-minute lunch. And at the end of the day, they maybe worked 4 hours. 4-hour day. If you're like, sitting around the break room is not work. Going to hour-and-a-half lunches is not work. On social media, texting your friends is not work. So I was only focused on income activities. I literally had 4 times a day I would check my emails. I wouldn't check them any other time. I'd check them once in the morning at like 7 a.m. before I got in the office. My assistant would check them out throughout the day. I would then check them. So when I say check them, means she would only send me the ones I needed to respond to. I wouldn't even look at the ones I didn't.
So you only like look at the like
she would
important
literally
ones only.
send me the ones I need to respond to. Okay. So, or like it was a client that had a question, or like say a prospect was like, I'm ready to pay, or just something like that. And a lot of times I'd have her call to take the payment. Okay. So I would do that, and then I would check them again right before I left for work, like 4:30, 5. She'd send me those, and then on my own, I would usually check them before I went to bed. Sometimes I wouldn't. So it was like 3-4 times a day. So a lot of salespeople, they'll hear their email ping, like every 10 minutes, and they'll look over here and start checking it. Then they'll get on a call, and they'll hear another one, like start checking it, and you're like task switching, and you're going from like a right brain logical, you're going from like a right brain like emotional activity of selling to a left brain logical, like entering in data and checking emails, and your mind it doesn't task switch that well when you're in sales. You want to stay focused on your emotional side of your brain when you're in these conversations, for sure. It's a big mistake. It's not just your skill level too, it's like time management's a big thing.
And I think it's even worse because then the people who watch my channel tend to be younger, right? And then as you know, like most young guys, they want to get into the high ticket space. They want to work remotely, and now there's even more distraction at home.
Oh yeah.
I really want to ask you this question, Jeremy, and this is my own personal opinions too, is that I feel like if you're a young guy, you should learn how to sell. Like, not even young guy, young everyone. Like, if you're young, you should learn how to sell. Since you're mistaken selling as in like you're trying to sell, get money from someone, but then it's really just human psychology, right? And then
it's really it's just really like you're helping people find problems that maybe they didn't know they had, and helping them solve them with your solution, and people thank you. Like when you really learn how to, how to do what we show you, like NEPQ, you're gonna have the majority of your prospects like quite literally thank you that you almost allowed them to pay you to solve their problems. They don't feel like they were pressured or pushed. It's their idea because of what questions we asked with the right tone that caused them to build a gap in their mind from where they are to where they want to be.
That happened to me when I bought the program NEPQ 3.0, and I saw someone using NEPQ, and he actually thanked me at the end. And I was like, that's the first time ever. Someone thanked me at the end for me taking that money, and I was like, this is weird. It's like a weird thing.
Yeah, so when you started learning that, you started having prospects thank you to take their money to solve their problems and get the results they want. I mean, people want their problem solved. They want to get results. But it's all how salespeople have been trained to communicate them that either causes them to emotionally open up and trust you, or stay surface level and not trust you at all, never go below the surface, and throw out tons of objections at the end.
And not only that, I think every single person should learn how to sell, since it also helps you with let's say if you want to run a business and you're good at sales, bro, you can sell anyone on your vision. You can, because at the end of the day, it's just persuasions, right? Like getting people to do things that you.
Everybody's in sales. Like even if you're not a salesperson, even if everyone is selling something all of the time. Every human being on this planet is in some type of sales. So even if you have a job or you don't have a job and you don't get paid a commission for doing anything, we call that non-sales selling, okay? So let me give you an example. Like if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner and you're trying to, you're trying to get your team on board about the vision of where you want to take your company, well, what are you trying to do? You're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence, you're trying to move others. If you're an attorney who's trying to convince a jury that your client is innocent, you are trying to persuade, you're trying to influence, you're trying to move others. If you're an employee trying to convince your boss to give you a pay raise or a promotion, you're trying to persuade, you're trying to influence. If you're
even dating, to be honest.
Dating, if you're a teacher trying to get your kids to do their homework and get their grades really good, you're trying to if you're a politician, for hell's sake, trying to get people to vote for you, trying to persuade, influence, and move others. So it doesn't matter what you do, everyone is in sales. So when you learn how to communicate the right way, doors open.
It's just learning how to communicate, essentially.
It's learning the right questions to ask at the right time with especially the right tone. Because your tone is how the prospect, I'm always big on tone, right? Your tone is how your prospect interprets the intention behind every question you ask them.
For context, that when Jeremy says big on tone, like even with like just normal day-to-day thing, like you corrected me on my tonality on just random things sometimes. Like if you say it in this way, it will work better. I was like, okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm weird. Like when I hear somebody's tone, that I'm telling like, well, if you actually use more of a concerned tone here, it's actually going to show the person you're talking to that you're actually really concerned about their situation, rather than just like a straight monotone tone. Yeah, exactly.
And this is a funny story. When it comes to the actual dating, learn how to sell, we actually, I'm not even kidding, like 3 weeks ago. So my friend, I think he pissed off one of his friend. Right? She's a woman.
A girlfriend. Okay.
Yeah, and then we use like NFPQ, like objection handling, like 3-step to overcome.
Okay, so I gotta hear about this, man. Spill the beans, baby.
She was kind of pissed off because then they were never dating, but they like talking and just. And then he was talking to another chick, right? And then
so they weren't steady, but they were
not dating. Like nothing was official or anything like that. But so he was talking to different people. Sure. And she got pissed at him. Yeah. And then we literally did the 3-step
clarify, discuss, diffuse.
So she was like, "I'm mad." What do you mean by you're mad? Like what's going on?
How do you mean by you're mad?
And then she
concerned tone. Yeah.
We did the same. Like, what's the next thing?
So discuss it, like you're just, so what's, and then you diffuse.
Yeah, and discussing like how can we come to a solution together?
How are we going to overcome this so we can actually keep dating? It's like how,
And it worked out. I was like, oh my God, it's like the best thing ever.
There you go. So you can use it for anything, right? Yeah, we get that a lot. I'll get like a letter we get some fan mail sometimes. I love it. But I remember reading this chiropractor sent me this letter a couple weeks ago, thanking me about like his practice is like quadrupled. He's got like 5 practices now, and he's like, I realized that when these patients came in, I would just adjust their back and like say, you need to come back 4 more times, and then nobody would come back because I just told them, and it went in one ear out the other. But I knew that they needed that to really get their back done, so I started asking more about the pain and how long they've had the pain and what it's preventing them from doing, and all these type of pointed questions. And he would get them to feel so much internal tension that they felt like, I really need to change. Like it was urgent for them, and they were like saying, when can I come back? Like how many sessions do I need? Well, for your back, typically for people, with your back, especially that lower back, they're gonna come in probably about 10 to 12 times over the next like 3 weeks. I'm thinking for you though, probably about 8 or 9 times to actually fix it. And then worst case scenario, if you need to come back for a few more, we can always do that. Would that help you? And everybody's like, yes, that would help me. Like, I'm in. Like, and then his business just boom like that. Just little things like that. It doesn't matter.
Learn how to sell for sure. Like, that's probably the biggest reason why. I mean, I'm not successful by any.
You were successful, dude. For your age, bro, you're like 20 years old. You're making multiple 6 figures a year. Like, what do you mean you're not successful? How many 20-year-olds are making multiple 6 figures a year?
Not that many.
Not many.
But
you're definitely in the top 1% already.
Yeah, but compared to, I've talked.
But I'm in my 40s.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
There you go, dude. When I was 20 years old, I was going to college, and I was playing baseball, and I lived on ramen noodles. So you're doing good, dog.
A lot of it because I learned how to sell. And I know we have to wrap this up really soon here, but I got a couple more questions. Just maybe maybe on the business side,
Yeah.
right? So I know you were making some crazy money when it comes to when you were selling as your full-time job.
Yeah, somewhat, yeah.
So what was the, I guess, like the reason behind why you want to, like even, like what's the rationale behind why you even want to change to open a sales training company? Because
There's a couple reasons.
probably because like
Yeah.
if you want to match the income that you were making,
Yeah.
like full-time selling, the business has to be really, really big.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for sure.
What was the reason?
You know, so I retired about 6 months into retirement. I was really, really bored. And I started to see, it was the first time I ever really got on Facebook, believe it or not. Like I had a Facebook thing since like 2009, 10 or so, but I just didn't do much of it, right? So it was the first time I kind of got on social media. And I would see these.
Now you're everywhere. TikTok.
I would see these ads, and from these sales gurus like talking about, oh, you got to sell this way and blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, man, if I sold that way when I was in sales, I would have made like 95% less. I would still be working for the rest of my life. And so I was like, all these sales trainers that I'm seeing here, like they're still training stuff that's like the dinosaur ages of selling that does not work that well unless you just want to play the numbers game and work your little family off to barely get by. And so everybody had always told me, like even probably 4 or 5 years into my first job, you should start your own sales training company one day. I mean, I've heard that 10,000 times, but I didn't know how. You know, going from like being a professional salesperson to actually, and I was a VP of sales for a pretty large organization and a chief sales officer as well during that career. But going from that to actually running a business is completely different, So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I don't know how. I remember I hired an outside consultant to help build a product because I didn't know how to build a product, right? And so my first product was literally called the 8-Week Academy. It's so bad. It's like came out in 2018 or 2019. I did 3 webinars. And it was like a 9-hour course, right? It was like 2% of what we have now with NEPQ.
Yeah, the course now is,
it's like 45 hours long.
and the coach, you guys have like so many fucking
57 training calls a week. We have sales trainers all over the world for different time zones because we have clients in pretty much every continent now. And so, so I did that, and I did like 3 webinars, and I think we did about, that first year we did like 1.3 million in sales. Got a lot of testimonials, and everybody's like, wow, Jeremy, that's really good. The only problem was I spent 1.8 million, so I lost 500,000 my first year, so that was not good. So I figured like, okay, so I made all this money, but I actually lost money. So I'm like, how many years can I keep going losing 5, 6, 700,000 a year before I have to unretire? So I'm like, that's not good. So I found the right team. You know, one of my clients, Matt Ryder, and Marco Cortese, which are my 2 business partners in the firm now, were clients. And Matt was really successful running his company. It was a gym company at that time, and Marco was
an 8-figure gym.
One top reps there. And Matt says he convinced me to be my business partner. I think I convinced him. I'm not sure he understands, like subliminally, I can't even pronounce the word, that he was really convincing himself the whole time. He thought he was convincing me when I was seeding it in his whole mind for a few months before. So he came in as a CEO, business partner, and then he brought Marco in. And then within like 6 months, Marco became a partner in the firm as well because he totally crushed it. And there was only like Marco and one other salesperson. Literally, this was like in 2020. This is not very long ago. This was 2020. You're talking 3 years ago this all started. And then we started, we have like 40 some salespeople now, but, and then we just started building it takes time, you know, and I think a lot of people like expect to be like rich overnight, and it's just not realistically gonna happen. You can have the greatest product or service in the world, but if you don't have the right team around you that are strong in areas that you're weak in, you're gonna really struggle. It's gonna take a long time to build that business, because like I said, obviously, like everybody loves our training and content, but if the world doesn't know who you are, it doesn't matter at all, right? Yeah. And so it's crazy because people are like, oh, your IG is blown up and all this stuff. I didn't even have an Instagram account until 20 months ago. Literally, it was. I just looked it up. I told somebody the other day it was 18 months, but it was actually 20 months. 20 months ago, I didn't have an IG account. Yeah. And so we went from 0 to like, I think we have like 550 some thousand followers.
Close to 600K.
In like 20 months, you know. And so anyways, and now, you know, we're on TikTok and we own Facebook ads. We're everywhere on Facebook ads. I come here, they're like, I see you on Facebook ads all day long, and IG, so we're pretty much everywhere. But that's because we have the right team. Marco Cortese is our marketing genius, our chief revenue officer, my business partner as well. Matt runs the business, CEO, genius.
Matt's really, really.
Yeah, we have a VP of marketing, Blake, which is amazing. There's so many people that Anthony, our chief sales officer, Kyle, our sales director. We have so many good people. I'm not mentioning 100 some names, but we have so many good people on the team now that it's, when you have a great team and you have great marketing and you have great training, it's pretty hard to, and we have almost 18,000 testimonials, for our clients in the last 3 years, which no other sales training company would even have a third of those. We're getting more testimonials than sales training companies have been around for 30 or 40 years. Yeah. So anyway, so that's where we're at, and we're always trying to learn and get better. You have to stay humble.
Did you ever think that 7 Level was gonna become this one giant sales training thing back when you first started out, or was it like, did you envision this happening?
There's no plan A for me. Okay. Like when I start something, that's plan A. There's no plan B. There's no plan B. Like when I started 7 Level, plan A. We're big now, but we're not anywhere close to what we will be 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So we think long term. This company will be around far longer after I'm gone from this planet, wherever we transition. Like, it'll still be running. It's really, we're a lot of the companies now is positioned around the methodology more than me, NEPQ, right? And so we're long term. There's other verticals that we'll be entering in here in the next 2 to 3 years. And we're long term. We'd rather slow down the brakes to make sure our clients are fulfilled. Like, we don't want too many sales coming in where we can't fulfill, because the brand and our client experience and them getting the results is the most important factor for us at 7 Level. Nothing else matters but that.
Yeah, you guys plan it out really. Like Matt showed me the plan is.
Matt and Marco are a genius. You see all the mind maps.
Yeah, I'm like, well, how the fuck do we get that?
Yeah. No, we have Kim Manley, on our board. He was the CEO of he was the president
Smirnoff,
and CEO
right?
of Smirnoff Vodka. So he's definitely helped us get to the next level, and we meet with him every week and stuff. And he's just a genius. We have so many talented people on our team. So when people are like, "Oh, you're awesome and you've done all these things," I'm like, "It's not me. It's like everybody over here. Like, I'm just the guy that has the training content. Without the whole team, none of my training would matter." So
any last advice for younger people? Just business, sales, life, anything?
Just get into sales training, whether you get into ours or somebody else's. Get into it and become religious with it. What I mean, my good friend Brian Tracy, the first sales event I ever went to was the summer.
Brian Tracy. He wrote a book.
He's written 40 some books. He's amazing. So that was the first sales seminar I've ever been to, summer of 2001, I think. And Brian said on stage, I still remember it to this day, use your vehicle as a university on wheels. And from that day, literally from that day, I don't know if you ever know, because people say I'm weird. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to music. I'm weird. I'm crazy. So from that day, I've either read or listened to 5 books a month times 12 months a year. So that's 60 books a year times the last 23 years. That's almost 1,500 some books on sales, persuasion, influence. I've taken more than 300 some courses. Advanced tonality, advanced body language, all this while I was in the field. I still take those courses because we're always applying NEPQ into what we learn from that and making it better, right? So I'm religious. Now, do I read 5 books a month? No. I usually read about 2, and the other 3 I hear in the car from audiobooks while I'm driving around. And people are like, I don't have time to do that. I'm like, yeah, you do. When I'm ironing my shirt in the morning, it might take me 4 minutes, my pants. I've got my phone on, and I'm taking an advanced body language course right now. I got 4 minutes here. I get in my car, I drive to the office, 6 minutes. I got 6 minutes there, that's 10 minutes. Then I'm like, I go to a chiropractor, that's 12 minutes away. I listen to that 12 minutes there, 12 minutes back. All of a sudden, I've got 40 minutes in that day of sales training. So if you're a salesperson, there's no excuse. You start doing that every day. If you start listening to sales training every day for at least an hour,
you're gonna be pretty good.
And you do that
selling.
30 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it's pretty hard not to be really good at selling. But salespeople, I gotta listen to my Taylor Swift songs, or I gotta listen to pump up motivational music, which makes you how much money?
0.
Bagels, 0. So start doing that. And then if they wanna learn more about us, what we do, we'll give them some, they're welcome to join our free Facebook group. Have them go to Sales Revolution.
I drop all the links in the description. This podcast is not too technical, but I would drop Jeremy's YouTube channel in the description. That YouTube channel alone, if you watch like 10 videos on there, you're gonna get better at sales for free.
Probably.
If you join the Facebook group, you're gonna, so if you know Jeremy Miner and you consume his content, you probably get better at sales for free. So I'm gonna drop that down below, help you guys out. Jeremy, Instagram is Jeremy Lee Miner, at Jeremy Lee Miner.
At Jeremy Lee Miner, M-I-N-E-R, and they can go to our Facebook group, salesrevolution.pro. There's about 90,000 some salespeople in there. Many of them from the industries you're talking about, and they're just all, we go live in there 2 or 3 times a week. So they're welcome to go there. YouTube channel there as well. Tony, thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
God, bro, thank you.
All right, brother.